And we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports. It is a Monday afternoon lunchtime show, and we are back after what was a mental weekend of rugby. Both in the Bok game, the New Zealand, reaction, for example, has been very interesting. The South African reaction has been very interesting, but the Australia versus Argentina game, despite having to watch it from midnight till about 2 in the morning, was really entertaining and a good watch. So it was a great weekend of rugby championship, really. And it's tell you what, from a South African perspective, very chuffed with how things are looking with regards to the rugby championship and how it's all kind of playing out, because it's looking very promising. Because we've got quite a nice lead. If we were to win this weekend, we'd probably be kind of one hand on the trophy type of situation, which is lekker if you're a South African. Now, we talked about a lot of things because there's obviously been quite a big fallout over the weekend about certain things. And coming up in the show, we're going to be talking about the officiating crisis in rugby, the Bongi Benambi knock-on, the Siya Kolisi tackle from Sam Cane, and the fractured face potentially. We're going to be talking about the double backing try, for example, that was scored by New Zealand. I mean, just to be talking a little bit about the officiating in general. We'll also be talking a little bit about, obviously, the weekend, and in terms of some of the reaction, we're talking a little bit about the fact that Rassie Erasmus has changed the time and schedule of his his team announcement, which has been delayed to Thursday. We'll talk a little bit about SA Rugby sending a complaint to Australia, although there is a separate video coming on about that later. And we'll also talk a little bit about something that's actually just gone out very shortly in terms of SA Rugby apologising for the whole incident which came during the haka, which is interrupted and stuff like that. They have come out and given a reason and an explanation as to why and how it happened, and that it won't happen again, which of course it won't happen again. It was not deliberate. It was never going to be deliberate. It's nothing that, we had pre-planned, that they're saying, oh, we can go and interrupt the haka, get some mind games going, and this is going to, give us an edge. It was a simple human error. The explanation does make semi-sense. I mean, the explanation makes sense. It's just kind of, there were steps that could have been taken to have prevented the fact that human error would have been possible. But I don't think there was any sort of malicious intent. And I think that is probably the most important thing. So let's get into it, shall we? And before we do that, please do smash like on the video. Already got a good 100 people in the viewers. So make sure you smash like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new. We are past 75,000 subscribers, which is a very exciting landmark for us. So now the next big sort of step is 80,000 on the road to 100,000 subscribers. Imagine. Incredible if we were to ever get to that sort of that little YouTube play button. But that's down the future anyway. But the main thing is just smash like on video and subscribe. So let's start. And I think a couple of people are asking, for example, about the plane incident. And again, that's kind of just gone out, that video. But basically what happened is, with the flyover being pre-planned, there were obviously pyrotechnics. So basically, there were pyrotechnics and a music selection system. A Tina, for example, that was planned for the flyover. I imagine the whole thing was, as the plane flies over, fireworks, Sister Bettina comes on, and everyone is just absolutely losing it, frothing, ready to go, kick off, and the atmosphere just takes it a whole another level, which makes sense. Here comes the issue. You've got a plane. I'm going to use a pen for the example. That is, I need a stadium. A DST remote. So you've got Ellis Park, and you're a plane that's heading there. Now, this plane obviously cannot see what's happening over here, and it's on a schedule. So it's going to fly over, and you've got, what, 2-3 seconds, if that? Maybe even a second, really, when it goes, meow. And that's obviously all pre-planned. So there would have been a schedule, with kickoff supposed to be at 5, working backwards, there would have been a schedule that kind of would have looked something like, 16:45 teams right now, 16:47 dignitaries shake hands for 2 minutes, 16:50 anthems begin, 16:55 haka begins, 16:58 flyover, 1700 kickoff. That probably wouldn't, and generally, I've seen some of these schedules, and they are literally sometimes to the last second. Basically what happened is the prayer to the Maori King that New Zealand had kind of delayed things slightly, and as a result, that was why the plane ended up flying over the stadium during the end the haka. The crowd obviously reacted to the plane flying over, and apparently the sound engineer who was then tasked with the songs and obviously the pyrotechnics was to match the flyover. It all kind of became a bit of a rolling effect where the pyrotechnics went off as the plane came over, and the song was then started to play, and it all kind of just interrupted the end of the haka, which was not the plan. It kind of just happened like that. So I think it's a pretty reasonable expectation. I mean, explanation, for example. I do think it's not. Again, there's no malicious intent. We weren't sitting there, as mentioned, deliberately trying to stuff up the haka and to try and create mind games. It was just a pure timing issue. And they have issued an apology. Even Overhaul has come out and said, we're very sorry. They've written apparently to the New Zealand Rugby Football Union as well to apologise for the incident, and have assured them it won't happen again. And sure, you can move on, basically, I think. And obviously in Cape Town, there won't be a flyover, as far as I understand. But there should be. It's kind of a bit of an iconic thing to Edis Park, obviously, from the 1995 one. So yeah, it's not going to happen in Cape Town. I really hope it doesn't. I mean, we, as much as everybody likes to create, it's as much as we like to create hype and stuff like that, you've got to do it within reason, and you don't want to then take away from certain things. So Cape Town must find its own vibe. Ellis Park is the flyover, for example. Each sort of stadium has its own kind of intricacies and sort of rituals that add to the occasion. So if we start doing flyovers at every single blooming match, then it loses the meaning, really, doesn't it? And the excitement of it. So hopefully we won't see that being added. But again, I don't think even if it were to be added or stuff, they'll be very, very aware of the issues that happen, and it's not going to happen again. So we don't need to worry about it. But yeah, so let me just sort of clarify that to begin with. Let's get into the refereeing chat, because that has completely dominated the rhetoric. And I hate talking about referees. I really do. And it's just so frustrating that we saw some phenomenal moments. We saw some great tries. We saw some really good rugby. We saw some huge performances in the biggest rivalry in the world. And unfortunately, we're just talking about referees all the time, aren't we? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the main incidents. I might even show them, actually. I might even see if I can find the clips, and we'll kind of have a look at them. And what's always interesting is people see what they want to see. So some people will look at the Bongi and Manambi knock-on, for example, and they will say, nah, nothing in it, whatever. It should have been a try and whatever. Similarly with, for example, the tackle on Siaklisi, the double backing from the All Blacks, for example. So there's lots to talk about. And we're going to talk about a little bit about the issues behind it, because I thought Andrew Brace, I don't think he had as bad a game as everybody's mentioning. To be honest, I think that he maybe needs to I think he needs to communicate a lot better. I think there was an issue with him. I don't think he communicated as well. And I always think that referees that communicate well are the best referees, because in terms of decisions, we've heard from Jakob Paper talking about the fact that they're expected to make there are like 1,000 decisions to make in a game. You're never going to make all of them, and at the end of the day, that's going to be that's going to be the reality of the game, is that you will miss lots of decisions. And also, they very much admit that there are things that they see that they don't blow, So there'll always be certain things, and that's why it's important to understand each referee, because certain referees will ping certain things more often than others because they'll interpret it like that. There is always going to be an element of interpretation, by the way. That's something you can't get away from. I do think that the laws aren't helping, and the fact that they change it so often, and I think it also doesn't help in terms of the fans not understanding that the laws have changed, and then they're kind of they're kind of then piling on the referee out of sheer ignorance, which is not necessarily the fans' fault because it changes so often, but that's also something that does happen. And I think I was saying there saying, I don't mind wrong decisions as long as the ref explains it. I think that's the main thing. It's about explaining yourself. It's about the communication. And I think my issue comes this weekend is not with Andrew Brace, but the TMO and the lack of TMO intervention. It was weird that the Bongi Nambu trial wasn't looked at. That you see, at least you asked about the double banking, as we refer to here in South Africa, and he also asked about the Sam Cane tackle, and it's frustrating then that we talk about the fact that the TMO has been empowered. That's a whole big thing. They've said that the TMO has been empowered to make decisions, to make on-field decisions, and to go to the referee in the ear and say, listen, I've picked it up. This has happened. Or even if it's not necessarily making it the decision, saying, listen, Andrew, I picked up a potential knock-on, go and look at it. And I think the frustration that the fans are getting and why we're getting very annoyed is there's lack of consistency on when the TMO intervenes and when it doesn't. And I think these were 3 clear incidents where the TMO has to intervene and should be intervening and should be getting it right and didn't. And balance of things, I don't think it made a difference. It's, you looked at Bongi Manami trial and you look at the New Zealand trial. So we're looking at those 2 main ones. And then we're looking at a potential card, Sam Cane, who I think got very lucky. So let's start with I'm going to try. I don't want to start with double banking and make it seem as if I'm just a salty sapper, as I've been called before. I want to try and see if I can find the Bongi Manami one first, which is, for me, clearly a knock-on. And I said at the time, that's lucky. I even said on Twitter at the time as well. So one thing you can't protect me of is sitting there and saying that I didn't think it was a try, because I do think that it should have been disallowed. I'm just trying to find the replay of the Bongi Imbanumbles. Because for me, there's clear separation. I think it should have been disallowed. So I think that's I don't think it's really up for much debate. Let me see if I can just find. Do we have the other angle? Yeah, we do. Fantastic. Right, let's see if this is going to work. Give me a second. We're going to go to here. Ha! No, wait, that's not quite what I want to do. Go away. We're going to go to this screen. Right, now we're cooking. Now we're cooking. Right, let's have a look, shall we, at the Bongi Manambi try. And this is what we're talking about, okay? So we'll watch it over here. And cool, earning more. Very nice, very nice. Bongi Manambi goes, bang! You're not stopping me. He runs over a couple players. He dots down. Thank you very much. Happy Larry. And life is good. Life is very, very good, Down to a yellow card. Still scoring. Lacquer. Bongi Manambi deserves it. What a lad. But then we're going to go look at the replay, shall we? And this is the part, because let's look at where Andrew Brace is over there. Okay, let's look at Andrew Brace. So he is, I don't know if you can see my cursor. Let me just make sure so you can, so I can actually show you what I mean. Here we go. Now you should be able to see my cursor. No, apparently not. That's annoying. Anyway, okay, cool. So look at Andrew Brace. So there we go. So there's Andrew Brace. Okay, so if you look at it at the angle, he just sees him grounding, no issues whatsoever. To be fair, New Zealand players don't really complain. However, that for me is clear separation. That is separation as far as I'm concerned, and I think that should be a knock-on. Then there's downward pressure. I think there's separation. Some people are sitting there saying there's no clear separation. Again, I think you kind of see what you want to see. But as far as I'm concerned, there was clear separation. Problem number 2 I have with this whole incident is over here. Look where these New Zealand players are. They are supposed to be behind the line. Now, the reason that they are going towards Sasha is because there is a big screen on this side, on the other side of the field, and they've not seen the replay. Now, you can see there, I think that's actually Andy Edwards, who's chatting to the referee at the time, which is why he hasn't seen the replay. So this is why all of a sudden you can see these players are now approaching the referee to sit there saying, no, but there's a knock on, we need to go and have a look. Now, first of all, there was a knock on. So we do need to go have a look. And that's fine. But the annoying thing is that if it's not, and you're going to sit there and say it's not a knock-on, and if there is separation, by the way, in that incident, it is forward, by the way. But some people are saying it is forward. If he's there and you've lost the ball over here, it has to be backwards, people. Backwards. You can drop a ball straight down and catch it. It's considered a knock-on. You speak backwards. Even though straight down thing is virtually gone, backwards. So the ball has to travel backwards. So by default, if he's lost it, moving forward, and then there's going down, then it is forward. I still maintain that I think there's separation. Some people are saying there's not. I mean, I think there is. I think there is a separation. You're going to sit there until I do think. But my main point is over here, is they've now broken early. Now, Sashfam Mngomezulu gets timed out here, as I hopefully this does show. And you can see he's annoyed. Now look where they all are. They were well ahead. So there are actually several mistakes in this. First of all, whether the try should have been awarded or not. Second of all, there's going to be this is my issue here. As soon as they break here, that timer should reset. That is what's supposed to happen, is the timer is supposed to reset, which it didn't. So that's an annoying part of it, because the fact that now is that Sashfam Mngomezulu has now been timed out, and he shouldn't have been. If the try was good and being awarded, then the shot clock should have been reset here, and he should have had another opportunity. So that's 2 errors. Okay? Again, TMO should be getting involved in both. First of all, the TMO should have said, let's have a look at the try. And then once they had a look at the try, they then sort of said, oh, cool, we're happy, whatever, let's get the conversion. And then once again, they then have to be behind the line and need to do it properly. So that's incident number 1, where I think the TMO has let us down, because he should have intervened, didn't intervene, and now we've got a potential try that we talked about. Even in the comments now, we're still sort of debating it. The main thing, for example, is had they looked at it, and they could have made a decision. And then it wouldn't have mattered about what we say. Because even now in the comments, I've seen other people saying, some people are saying he's controlled the ball, some people are saying he's not. We're all going to look at it differently. We all might have our own thoughts on it. The main thing is, if the TMO at least flags it, then you can go and say, right, I've seen this. They can look at it. They can then make the decision. And they can say, as far as we're concerned, there's no separation. He doesn't lose it. He grounds it. We're happy. Or we think there's separation, or he does lose it, therefore it's forward, therefore try is not awarded, scrum New Zealand. And then we move on. But because he didn't get involved in what is a clear incident that needed to be looked and needed to be checked, we now have this conversation and debate online because he didn't get involved. Should have gotten involved, didn't get involved. Okay? So now we look at, so there we go. So if a try gets awarded, it gets taken away, we lose 5 points. We lose the game. Boy. Big debate now, because now everybody's saying that we've won this try because we won this game because of a try that shouldn't have stood. However, we're back. And now we're looking at the double banking incident, which, if you go and watch Angus Gus Analytics, sees where he goes and actually, I'm just using his video because it was easy to find, it explains it. Now, basically, what double banking is that when the lineup person comes up and comes down and the maul starts, he has to be the contact point. So when you're making that hit on a maul, it needs to be the person that wins the line out that gets hit first. Otherwise, it's obstruction, what people are calling double banking, because they're basically saying there's two players between the opposition and the ball, and therefore they either have a sack, for example, that completely removes the idea of a sack, or any chance of getting their arms around the ball and holding it up. That's why it's outlaw. That is why you can't do it, because it's tip. Now, the issue is this play over here. Now, if we go look at who takes the line out, RD Sevilla goes up. Now, this is the issue. Tyro Lomax is in front of him. And that is where the issue lies. You can see very, very clearly he's in front of him. And that is what basically, it's actually almost a textbook example of what double banking is. Because, again, now they managed to shift that ball and then they've moved to the side. Now the shift off to the right hand side, that's all good. That's all fine, by the way. That's not the issue. That's all fine. The grounding's fine. Absolutely nothing to worry about there. But you can see, and Siya Kolisi asked about it. He says, Mr. Ref wasn't there. Now, this is the perfect example. You can see how already, I know I'm busy pointing, not going to be able to see it. You can see how already Tyro Lomax is taking out these two players' chance of getting to RD Sevilla. And you've got this player over here, who I think it's Tamati Williams. He's not really interfering. He's actually relatively fine, because if Tyro Lomax is where he's supposed to be, then RD Sevilla is going to be hitting, I think it's Oxen Chair, Ben Jason Dixon, he'll be hitting him first. But as you can see, immediately there is that protection. And that is what double banking is. So that should have been called obstruction, and try should have been disallowed. And it's annoying because Siya Kolisi very clearly goes to the referee and says, there was obstruction. Once again, as soon as Siya Kolisi is doing that, and he's first of all, the TMO should be looking at it anyway. But as soon as you see Siya Kolisi doing that, as soon as the question is asked, the TMO should be going, oh, let me just make sure that's the let me just make sure that that's okay. It takes you 2 seconds, doesn't it? You know, and all you have to do is then the referee, because what the referee should be saying is, you know, is there one, for example, and the TMO can say yes or no. And again, if the TMO looks at it and he says, I'm happy with it. If the TMO gets the issue and you then check it and you clear it, we might not be happy about it. We might disagree with the call, but you've made the call. You know, you've now made a call. You've identified there was something to check. You've made the check. You're happy to continue. Now we move on. But once again, we're talking about a TMO that didn't get involved, that didn't use his prerogative that he's got and that he's supposed to have to look at the incident and say, yes, I've checked it. I'm happy. The referee ought to say, I'll show you. I mean, he was right there. The screen would have right there. It would have taken 20 seconds. The annoying thing is, you know, we see some things take so long to check. And we spend hours looking at certain things. And then you get something like this, which for me was an easy check. You very, very quickly sit there saying, yep, cool. One view of that, and I think you can make the call. So that for me is where it's worth the 20 seconds that we're talking about to check it and say, right, cool, obstruction, you know, penalty, move on. Off we go. So in the balance of things, and this is not me trying to justify Springboks winning, I don't have to. We won. Yippity-doo-dah-dah. But again, you know, we've got two incidents over there which TMO should have gotten involved. Probably get both tries, probably get chalked off. The balance of things is you take away 5 points from South Africa, you take away 7 from New Zealand, the result remains the same. So again, and I don't think, to be fair, I don't think most people, even New Zealand fans, are debating the result. I think they're not debating that they should have won, for example. But again, those are instances that is frustrating from a point of view in terms of just, well, what's the point of having a team if he's not going to check this? The last one is the tackle on Siya Kolisi from Sam Kane. Now again, Siya Kolisi goes to the referee and he's got he's got a blood nose. You can see a massive sort of shiner. and he's potentially like, I don't know if he's fractured his eye socket or just fractured a cheekbone, for example. We wait to find out exactly what the final decision is and what the injury update is, but they don't check. Now, over here, this is the tackle. So, first of all, there'll be mitigation, by the way, I think. He's changed over there, but Sam Cane, there it is. That is the issue. That is shoulder and fed to contact over there. Anyway, I'm busy showing you. There we go. Let's have a look at it, shall we? Sorry. Ball over the top. Sia Khaleesi gets it. He goes low. And Sam Cane collides with him like that. Now, would it be a red card? I don't know. There might be enough mitigation with regards to a tackle. There is a small chain dip in height. You know, you're going from there to... I don't think there's much, to be fair. But there's definitely head-on-head contact. For me, I think that's pretty clear. I don't think anyone's going to argue the fact that there's head-on-head contact. And then, as per the laws, you start a red card, and then you bring it down. So you go and say, right, it's a red card, head-on-head contact, foul play has been committed. Cool, tick. You then go and say... what is the mitigation? Now, if there's mitigation in terms of there's a tackler, there's a drop in height or whatever, then that can mitigate down from a red to a yellow. But at the end of the day, there is very clear head, shoulder to head contact. Bang. It's there. Bang. They didn't look at it. And if they look at it, I think at the very least, I think Sam Cane goes to the bin for a yellow card. It's another penalty. Look, we already had a penalty afterwards. So that part doesn't maybe make a huge difference, but Sam Cane getting a yellow card would make a big difference to the to the grand scheme of things. Again, if you had looked at it and cleared it, we might not be happy with the decision, but a decision has been made. Sia went to the referee. I'm not sure, but I don't think it actually has it going to the referee. Fortunately, no, it doesn't. But he goes to the referee and he says, like, listen, I've just been smacked in the face with the tackle. Go and look at it, and they very clearly don't, because you wouldn't miss it. And that's again frustrating because you know, especially when we talk about head contact, you know, most of the new laws are so driven by safety and you know, it's safety about about player safety, player welfare. That's what I'm looking for. And when you see instances like that, you're then going, well, what's the point? You know, why come out and say that, you know, we're out here trying to talk about player safety when evidently we're not? You know, if you had looked at that and you cleared it, once again, all right, cool, we don't like the decision, but you've made a decision. And that, I think, and this is my entire point, is the fact that they're not looking. Why is the TMO not checking that? You know, we saw the replay. You know, this is a video of the replay. The replays were there. So the big question is, why is the TMO not looking? And we wait to find out what's going to happen. And again, you kind of wonder, is this going to be cited? I haven't heard anything about it being cited. But it's frustrating. And this is not me on a witch hunt saying, you know, Sam Cane needs to be carded, and Sam Cane's a reckless player, Sam Cane's a malicious player, etc., etc. It's just the fact that we just don't feel that they really looked at it properly. You know, you're now looking at a TMO who's been told to get more involved, but seems to not get involved at such key stages of the game. I think that's where the frustration comes. Unfortunately, it's not like this is an easy fix. You know, it's because it's the prerogative's already there. You know, it's not a case of the structures and the framework that exists doesn't allow for this for them to check these incidents and to rule them off. For example, it's there. It does. It very much does allow for them to do it. They just didn't, and I think that's the frustration. Is, you know, they're not getting involved as much when it counts, and there's very clear incidents which are not being officiated or noticed, and there's going to be a massive spotlight when it comes to the referee this weekend. And I'm actually going to check who the referee is. because I had it somewhere. Because good luck. You know, you are going to be in so much, there's going to be so much scrutiny about for this weekend. Now, here we go. South Africa versus New Zealand. It is Matthew Carley in the middle. Andrew Brace goes to the side. Ian Tempest is the TMO, who, by the way, was the TMO this weekend. So he is going to be... Oh, no, sorry. Brian McNeese was the TMO this weekend. So Ian Tempest now steps into the TMO box, and all eyes on him. And also all eyes on Matthew Carley, who's, again, going to be in for a tough day because there's going to be so much attention. Once again, we've got a week where we're talking about referees more than we're talking about the game, which is really frustrating. Because we shouldn't. And I hate talking about referees. Because I just think, first of all, you know, there's always going to be mistakes, and I think it becomes very unhealthy if we if we spend all our time talking about the referee rather than actual rugby, and you know, and also that's not why I watch rugby. I don't watch rugby to shit on officials and just look at how bad they are and to decide if they're bad or not. That's not why I watch the sport. I watch the sport because I love watching players play it. I love watching the tactical part of it. You know, we all love the sport, and refereeing has to happen. We have to have referees in the sport. So there's no point attacking them and sitting there and saying, right, this is just hopeless, this is pointless, and, you know, we just bin the referees, because then we lose our sport. So it's so important that the referees become a vital part of the sport, but how do we get it right? How do we give them the tools so that they can make as few errors as possible whilst enhancing the game? And that's what we need to get right. And I feel like that's what we're not getting right at the moment. So it's going to be interesting to see how things happen this weekend. It's not something I want to talk about but it has been talked about so much. I thought we just kind of had a look at it and talked about, you know, is there a referee officiating crisis? Now, I don't think it's a crisis in terms of the standard of referees we've got. I think what's very, very important is, you know, the referees and the framework that they have to operate. I think at the moment it's harder now to referee than it probably ever has been. I think that's a reality. There's far more laws. The laws change a lot more. The laws are far more technical. There is obviously also more scrutiny becoming a ref because we've got the benefit of HD TV replays, PVRs. We can record things. We can now highlight things. People can make YouTube videos with little dots and circles and stuff like that. And funny enough, because the laws change often, sometimes the fans don't know what's going on. I have to give myself refreshes all the time where I have to watch something and go, hang on, isn't that illegal? And then I'll maybe check it up and I'll go, oh, no, the law's actually changed and it maybe is legal. So there's nothing wrong with not necessarily being up to standard of all times with all the referees. I mean, that rugby law handbook is not a page turner. So nobody's expecting everyone to read all the different rules and know every single thing. But the problem is because it changes so quickly, you know, that there's a lot more scrutiny because sometimes people just don't understand it. But even the referees, for example, they'll be new to refereeing this particular law or officiating this law, and their interpretation might be different. And then there's always that area of interpretation. And people sitting there saying, you know, there shouldn't be interpretation. That's not feasible. It has to be interpretation because it's human error. It's human referees. Therefore, it's human error. So it's a strange situation to be in. Where we need to allow the referees to be able to make mistakes, but how do we give them all the tools possible to make the fewest mistakes, and to make sure that they're getting consistently even if it's the wrong things, but they're getting consistently the wrong things wrong, and they're getting the right things right for both teams. We, at the end of the day, just want consistency. That's what we want. We want consistency from one game to the next, from one tournament to another tournament. And that's the main thing. You know, at the end of the day, even if it's consistently bad, if it's consistent, then it doesn't affect the game. I mean, it will, but, you know, it's the consistency we want. We want things always being treated, and the framework needs to always be the same. The framework and the execution needs to be the same. The final interpretation, there will always be slightly different decisions and decisions you might not agree with. That is unavailable, or unavoidable. But again, if there's consistency and there's communication, then we'll be happy rugby fans. I think. Some people won't be happy. Some people are never happy, to be fair. And that's it. What was quite interesting, though, was TJ Perenara being penalised for talking to the referee. That's obviously something that they're clamping down a lot on these days. which, you know, it needs to be reined in. It's always been a trademark thing, especially when it comes to scrum halves, that they are quite on the edge, they are quite lippy. You know, it's kind of a bit of it's something that people enjoy, to be fair. Everybody enjoys a scrum half that has a bit of chat and is annoying. That's kind of all that's been always has been. But they are now clamping down on it, which they probably have to. You know, again, there's a difference between talking to the referee and abuse, and Perinaga got pinged for it, which is fair enough. It'll be interesting to see how that kind of sets precedent, which is good to see. I do think we need to move away from all the players being able to speak to the referee. Again, there's a difference between speaking to the referee and shouting and abusing the referee, and that was very much what Andrew Brace felt, that he was not being spoken to in the correct fashion, but TJ Perinaga did penalise him. So there was an interesting aspect of it. So yeah, so lots going on there. The last thing I want to talk about is that SA Rugby have submitted a complaint to World Rugby, and it's an interesting one because they have submitted a complaint basically after the uncontested scrums against the Wallabies. Now we've got another video coming out on this, which has got a bit more information. I think it's Hendrik Grenier has a written article about it. Going to be very interesting to see what comes of it. You know, it's basically what's happened is that SA Rugby have submitted an inquiry and asked how did it all come to be that there was those uncontested scrums, because Joe Schmidt basically admitted afterwards that Angus Bell could have come back on the field, but they elected not to bring him on. And as a result, it was uncontested scrums for about half an hour of that second half, which completely depowered any chance that, I suppose either side, but more the Boks, because they felt they had the momentum, had of using the scrum as a set-piece weapon. You know, basically, as soon as you got a scrum, it was just turning the ball, basically having a quick tap, but you have to get all 8 forwards involved in the scrum, so you get all that space. So it nullified one of the key parts of the Bok game. And now there's an inquiry about, well, how did this happen? Why did this happen? How do we prevent it from happening again? I think that's the main thing. It's not so much that it happened. We won the game, we got a bonus point, cool. But does this now provide a template for teams to use? Where they might now go and say, well, listen, if we're in a situation, I'm not going to say that everyone's going to start faking HIAs, for example, and faking concussions. You know, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not going to go down that route. But if the laws can be manipulated with regards to if you do get maybe an HIA and then an injury to your replacement prop, and it's very easy to sit there saying, all right, cool, we'll take uncontested scrums, that once again takes away from the scrum, which is already being targeted at the moment. You know, we are seeing laws that are kind of depowering the scrum, and it just sets a dangerous precedent. So I think the investigation is more about, we need to make sure this doesn't happen again. And I think, to be fair, that incident probably highlighted why scrums are still so important and why we still really like them. You know, and it's why we like rugby union versus league. Some people like both, and it's fair enough. But, you know, one of the hallmarks of union is the set piece. It is the different sizes and body types of players. It is a Franz Malherbe being in the same team as a Kirkley Arendse, who's in the same team as an Eben Etzebeth. You know, different body frames and types and stuff like that, all playing the same sport on the same field at the same time with different roles. That's what we love so much about rugby union, is that there's just so many different aspects of the game, and people got different jobs, and everybody can play and stuff like that, and so inclusive, etc. And if we start taking away the scrum, we're going to stop seeing your Franz Malherbes and maybe your Oxen Chairs. You know, we're gonna stop seeing your Ben Tamafuma, you know, the captain of Tonga, who's an absolute legend, but he's like 150 kgs, for example. You're gonna stop seeing these players playing rugby, and that's gonna be a sad day. So it's an interesting one, and I think it'll be interesting to see what the response, if there's a response that comes from any sort of investigation, because technically, you know, I mean, World Rugby can't send a two-liner saying, "No, this is what happens. This is why it happened. Off you go." You know, they can't. They don't have to suddenly launch a massive investigation unless there is enough evidence or to sort of warrant it. So we wait and find out, but I thought I'd just sort of mention that as well. As we wrap up, so we're going to wrap up there. And we've spoken about a lot. We've spoken about the referee stuff like that. I'm seeing a lot of, I know we haven't got to the comments too much. I know a lot of people having a lot of debates in the comments, for example. And again, what's interesting is that, you know, so many people are telling me I'm wrong, you know, with my opinion, whilst other people are agreeing with the opinion. Other people have got even a third opinion. So it's all about the different opinions that everybody's got. It's about the conversation, isn't it? Again, the fact that some people think that certain laws are in effect and some certain laws apply shows you that interpretation is a major part of the game. And you know, we can debate this in the cars from home. Wait until Nigel Owens does his, you know, video in and amongst a bunch of cows on his farm, talking about some of the main incidents, and when he does discuss it, and you know, he has, and I actually don't think that it's actually added a lot of value, to be honest, a lot of those things. I think a lot of that's created a lot of confusion, and again feeds into kind of that sort of the ref bashing and the ref abuse online. But anyway, we're going to move on from that. We will be live once again tomorrow. As mentioned, SUS will not be named as a side tomorrow. The Springboks side will be named on Thursday morning, as will the All Blacks side. I think this is going to be the first time that the Boks will announce their side after their opposition since before the British National Line series. So that's first time in about 3 years, at least, that I think we will name our side after the opposition, which is very, very interesting. The reasons being, who knows? Maybe we're going to bring a few surprises, and we don't want them to be able to pay for it. We wait and see. We will have a predicted team out tomorrow, as well as some more news videos throughout the week, and we'll obviously have press conferences coming to you during the week. So we'll have there's no Bok press conference tomorrow. So the first Bok press conference will be on Wednesday on the channel. We will, however, have some New Zealand content for you tomorrow, and we'll have content from Cape Town throughout the week, including all the post-match stuff as well. On your way out, please do like the video, because there was up to 500 people watching. We've got less than 100 likes, so please do like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new. We are trying to get to that 80,000 subscriber mark, on the way to 100,000 very much down the line. And so it's baby steps, but you guys can become part of that journey by just clicking 2 buttons, really. It costs you absolutely nothing, and it means a lot to us. But yeah, people very much enjoy